Multi-dimensional reform in any context is daunting, whether you're referring to a chainsaw approach spanning a few months or a multi-year transformation armed with the savviest consultants. A guest on this episode has been involved in transformational change, having played different leadership and consulting roles in both public and private sectors. Mrs. Ifueko Omoigui Okauru, who is former executive chairman of Federal Inland Revenue Service and Group CEO, the CPP Group, recently delivered a presentation to the Fate Institute Fellows titled Driving Institutional Reforms and Governance for Business and Economic Growth. Hello, welcome back to Global Business Insights, where we take a closer look at the main business headlines moving markets all over the world. In a recent paper on reform, Mrs. Omoigui Okauru recommends starting small with quick wins using pilots to learn, tackling manageable problems within specific states or communities. She adds the importance of identifying key stakeholders, power structures, and incentive systems before designing reform, and building trusting relationships all are very key. Also avoiding spreading yourself too thin over too many priorities. Performance-linked incentives can also be potent long-term levers for transformation. Mrs. Omoigui Okauru shares more insights and practical tips.
Why has reform been challenging, especially at the execution stage in Nigeria? Now, to respond to that, let me first of all say that reform is challenging. The truth is we may want change, but we really seldom like change as humans. To make us change to where others want us to go to, where we want to go to. Let's give an example. I would love to be a swimmer. I don't know how many times I've tried to swim. Much as I like it, I'm yet to be a good swimmer or even a swimmer at all. So it's tough. It's tough even when you set your own personal goals. Not to talk of when you want to reform institutions. And the truth about reform is that it is centrally about people. You're reforming, but beyond people, you're also reforming systems that people are used to. You're reforming rules that people are used to. So even though you may center your reform on an institution, or you center your reform around rules, you want to change rules, or you center around, if you want to change a physical building, people are involved. So let's talk about the building, which is inanimate. You could say you could just destroy it, you change it, you do this. But hey, in doing all those things, there's certain standards you want to achieve. The people that would execute those standards will not do it to the particular point you want it to. Now, of course, in the realm of robots and AI, it gets a lot easier. But even then, whoever programs the AI, whoever programs the robot, if it's a robot, even programming the robot, it's easier. But again, as you see in AI, the right at the bottom, AI even makes mistakes. And so it has to learn and unlearn and unlearn. And so I think maybe that word learning is probably one of the reasons it's actually very challenging. We'll have to learn new rules. We have to be ready to learn new rules. And that's where the difficulty is. And of course, in Nigeria, like I've mentioned in my article, where you have different beliefs, you have different perspectives, you have different views, you have different opinions, even made more difficult when you superimpose on that the belief systems and the way we think. And the schools that we may not realize that the schools that we've attended or not attended have shaped us, have informed us. All the experiences that we have shaped us. It makes it even counter difficult. So that's why it's difficult. It's not because it's Nigeria. It's just because where we are, how we are, the way we are has made it a lot more difficult. How do we start to do small pilots that work? Just start. Just start. Again, have you thought about how when you are, there's inertia, and you want to move something? It's difficult at the beginning, but just start. And then as you start rolling, you can start shaping it. And the reality about being overwhelming is accept it. One of the difficult things that we as human beings find difficult is accepting our reality. I don't know how long it took me to accept the reality of where I am, but even then, beyond the acceptance, I'm still working on it. There are certain things that shake me a little bit. I'm still working on it. But I think accepting our realities, perhaps also another tough thing that we need to bear in mind. And then perhaps another issue is, and these are things that the teach us in school, is, when you want to do something, leave your ego at the door. Little things like ego could also factor in. Do you know who I am? Why can't I do it? I've done it before. This is small. Nothing small. It's like surgery in the hospital. I'm waiting for a small surgery. It's not small. Small, big, same process. So let's work on ourselves first. Let's work on others. But starting with ourselves, narrow our expectations. Because again, part of it is also how we manage our expectations, how we manage the expectations of others, how we see ourselves, how we see others. And that's why in starting small pilots, at the back of our mind is be focused on our results. It goes back to choose one thing. But in that one thing, what do you really want to achieve? Do you want to be rich overnight? Or do you want to succeed in a particular project overnight? How do you frame that? How do you frame what you want to achieve? And sometimes in that rush to somehow solve all your problems overnight, you don't solve any problem overnight. Some have said deepening institutions is boring, unlike appointments, task forces, and submitting reports. Others says leaders underestimate change in navigation challenges and end up with half-baked solutions, poorly executed. What's the way forward? These are tough questions because you know the responses. You know the response. You're right. Deepening institutions is challenging, it's tough. Why would you, maybe at a particular age, spend your time doing all of that? Or maybe you have a problem that you're dealing with. Why would you bother? Why? Appointments, easy. So why won't you just take an appointment? I'm sure there are certain things that you just want an appointment for. And as you get older, there are certain things that don't make meaning anymore. So why bother? Task forces, easy peasy. Set goal, end goal, maybe 1 week, 2 weeks is done. It's shorter. Deep institutions, years. Sometimes you may not even see the results when you are even doing the reforms. Sometimes you lose your job. Sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of times it's tough. So you need support systems. It's not just about you. You need support. So let's say you don't have that support system. Let's say you don't have the family that supports you. Let's say you don't have a partner that supports you. Let's say you don't have children, if you have children that support you. Let's say you don't have the society every day that throws stones at you. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Maybe because they don't understand. So you always need to get into your own self. Be careful about what you hear from others. Reflect. Get into your own self. Be clear. What do you want to do? And do it. But in all things, be true to yourself. Be authentic. Be sincere. That what you're doing is truly, not just for yourself, it's truly about deepening institutions. It's truly about improving the people's lives. It's truly, and I mentioned the word truly in the God knows how many times. Then there'll be a way, even when you make mistakes, people will see that you are sincere. Even when you decide that, oh, it's A when it's supposed to be B, when people feel that it's for them, they will be the ones to tell you, no, this is not going to work. And listen. And even if you listen and it's wrong, stand up, shake yourself up, and move on.
More business stories. Global credit ratings agency Moody's upgraded Nigeria's sovereign rating to B3 from CAA1, highlighting substantial progress in external and fiscal positions. This also signals growing confidence in Nigeria's economic stability and future outlook. In its statement, Moody's emphasized that recent changes in Nigeria's foreign exchange management framework has improved the balance of payment. Donald Trump late Friday doubled tariffs on aluminium and steel imports to 50%, adding that new rates will come into effect this Wednesday and further secures America's steel industry. He announced the higher tariffs just outside Pittsburgh while talking up an agreement between Nippon and US Steel, a $14.9 billion deal, which will help, according to him, keep jobs for steel workers. Analysts are, however, concerned that higher tariffs will probably be painful for many American companies, given the slow ramp up of import substitution. Meanwhile, on Saturday, the European Union criticized this move to double tariffs on steel imports, warning that it undermines efforts to reach a negotiated solution in the ongoing trade war. The S&P 500 closed flat. That was on Friday in a big winning month as investors shook off trade war fears after Trump said China violated its preliminary trade agreement. Earlier, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent also said US-China trade talks had stalled. San Francisco Federal Reserve Bank President Mary Daly said on Friday that cooling inflation offers relief for Americans, but adds that there are risks of higher inflation ahead, despite the 2.1% rise in PCE price index last month. That's the Personal Consumption Expenditure Index, the preferred gauge of the Federal Reserve Bank. That 2.1% rise was the slowest annual increase in 4 years. The world's largest group of oil producers, OPEC Plus, on Saturday agreed another increase of 411,000 barrels per day for July as it looks to regain market share and punish overproducers. After many years curbing production, more than 5 million barrels per day. That's quite a huge amount of cuts that they took. Now you have 8 OPEC Plus countries agreed a modest output increase in April before tripling it up for May, June, and now July. The Hamburg Commercial Bank Germany Manufacturing PMI registered 48.3 in May, down slightly from April's 32-month high of 48.4, still in a deterioration trend for the 35th straight month. There was an upturn in output, helped by a second straight monthly rise in new export orders. Eurozone data also lingered in contraction. May PMI at 49.4 from 49.0. Survey results showed improving conditions in Greece, which was the top performing country during May, and Spain, which posted renewed expansion after 3 months of contraction. S&P Global UK Manufacturing PMI rose to a 3-month high of 46.4 in May, up from 45.4 in April, above the earlier flash estimate of 45.1. According to Rob Dobson, director at S&P Market Intelligence, he said the data shows major challenges, including turbulent market conditions, trade uncertainties, low client confidence, and rising tax-related wage costs. Downturns in output, new orders, and new export business have also continued, and business optimism stayed subdued. Nigeria May PMI was 52.7, the 6th consecutive month of expansion and signaling a solid strengthening of business conditions over the month. But the Economic Activity Index is down from 54.2 in April, with a slowdown seen across both output and new orders due to elevated inflationary pressures. Stanbic IBTC analysts still see the economy growing by 3.5% year-on-year in real terms in 2025 relative to 3.4% year-on-year growth in 2024. Asia share markets and the dollar saw a soft start to the week as US-China trade tensions continued to simmer and investors focus on key US jobs data and another expected cut in European interest rates. Well, that's it on this edition of Global Business Insights. Thanks for watching. This is Bode Oshosami. Bye-bye.